It's Friday. It's pre-recorded. Now the show Dozens Love the 9 Years Podcast.
Summer has come and passed. The innocent can never last. Wake me up when September ends. Like my father's come to pass, 7 years has gone so fast. Wake me up when September ends. Here comes the rain again, falling from the stars, drenched in my pain again, becoming who we are. As my memory rests, but never forgets what I lost. Wake me up when September ends.
All right, everybody, welcome to the 9 Years Podcast with Nick Draper and the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deacons. Thank you very much for downloading the show this week, be it on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube or 9yrespodcast.org. Last week I made mention of the fact we don't like to moan, so we were going to try and be positive this week, despite another defeat, despite our 10th league game of the season without a win. And then we got chucked a curveball in the season that I was going to say just keeps giving, but it's not really giving us anything. It's taking away our sense of fun, sense of enjoyment. I don't know, taking away everything at the moment. What it's done now is it's taken away our manager for a short space of time, at least. Might possibly have taken him away for good. So, we are recording this on Wednesday evening. Everybody knows that the news came out on Wednesday afternoon that Wally had been suspended from his role as first team manager following a charge from the FA. So, of course, we're going to have to talk about this and we're going to get straight into it. Club statement came out. It said that the FA had charged Wally for misconduct under FA rule E1 brackets B, which I'll have a look at and get the exact wording of in a moment, but it's pretty vague. But more context is then added. It is in respect of 8 bets placed on football matches between the 30th of November 2013 and the 12th of July 2019. And Stu, I suppose the first thing we must note about these is that time period covers Wally for jobs with QPR as a coach, as a manager in India, and then a manager with ourselves. So those timelines seem to indicate that these bets, if indeed he was behind them, as it stands, this is just a charge. It's just an accusation. This has to be held up in a court of law. It hasn't been yet, so Wally could be entirely innocent. But the charges relating to bets that we assume happened whilst in post at QPR and then latterly with ourselves. So, I mean, there's not a great deal we can talk about because, as I say, this is allegations. The hearing is to be heard. The FA have said we have until the 4th of October, which is 2 weeks' time from the day of release of this podcast. No, it's not. It's a week's time. I'm very sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. 1 week's time. What it does mean is, what we do know for certain is it impacts on our own arrangements for the next couple of fixtures, doesn't it? You imagine Glyn Hodges, who has been said in this statement to be taking charge, might well be in charge of first team affairs for, could be a month, could be 6 weeks, could be 2, who knows? But it's going to be a decent amount of time, isn't it?
Yeah. So, John, I'm just doing a bit of research myself because we've been throwing a bit of a curveball, haven't we, in terms of the announcement. Soddy. The FA are just so inconsiderate sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah,
Sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes.
Hold on. Are we going to get started on 2002 all over again? Because, you know what, I'm quite happy to have a rant about that again.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, I'm just trying to get... So I think the ruling is that in terms of bets made by an individual involved in football or providing advice to others. Is that right? I'm just trying to look on the FA rulebook, and it's a minefield. But yeah, I think let's be honest. The news isn't great. It's something we really don't need at this point. We've just gone into 10 games without a win. We've got some games coming up that potentially are winnable in Rochdale, Southend, and now we have something like this. And yes, they are. Yes, he has been charged by the FA, and of course we suspended him on the back of giving them some more time for the Football Club Board and Don Trust Board to review it. But it means now we're going to have a couple of weeks of, is he going to be here? Is he not going to be here? All those sort of things. And it's something we just don't really need. And also, it's in every online website is, any news association is running with it. And it's not something we really want of the club in terms of being put in this light, is it really?
Every online website. And some offline ones as well.
I was trying to think what they call the news, and I thought, the news association.
You mean the press association?
That's the same thing, isn't it? News press.
Blimey, and I thought I was the one tired today. Well,
I don't want to sort of get a small violin out, but I have a very poorly son since Tuesday, so I literally am shattered. I would rather work a 12-hour day than look after a poorly son. So yes, I do apologise. I'm tired. So this could be fun, really, because when I'm tired, I make more mistakes. So what more fun can we have?
Do you know I got my small violin out earlier? That didn't end well for me. I'll leave it there. I've been looking at this FA rulebook, and it does say in the statement, FA rule E1 brackets B. So looking at what that rule actually entails, all that says, E1B, is that the association may act against a participant in respect of any misconduct which is defined as being a breach of the following: the rules and regulations of the association, and in particular rules E3 to E28 below. So, despite the fact that I can't see rules E3 to 7 in what I have been presented here, there's a whole litany of things. So, to be able to pin down the specific rule that he's been fallen foul of, we don't know. But it's very strange how these things come to light. That's all I'd say on it. It's very odd. Like, how does this suddenly appear? And all of a sudden, all the way from 2013 to 2019, is this the FA compliance unit doing proactive digging on people? Or does somebody have to present a little bit of a tip-off? We can only speculate, because we don't know. But it does seem very strange.
It is speculation, isn't it? And obviously we've got to be careful what we say, because at the end of the day he has a right to an appeal. But when Wally was appointed, we had the issues, didn't we, with his previous activities on Twitter and bits and pieces like that. So, yeah, it's sort of something that's cropped up, and you're going, not there's no smoke without fire, but you sort of go, okay, is it a major surprise? I wouldn't say I'm shocked, if I'm being honest with you, because I think that's just the way our luck's been recently. Do you know what I mean? You have to say at the moment, this is the last thing we need. Yes, the players could go and think, Joe, what, everyone's against us. We're now gonna really fight for Wally and stuff, and I hope they do. I doubt they will, but that's what hopefully you would want the team. But this drags on until the 4th of October, which is the Friday before we play Rochdale, which is a massive game. And Glyn Hodges now has got a massive job in terms of he's got a team that's not won in 10 league games, and also now doesn't have their manager. So penny for the thoughts for Glyn Hodges tonight, because he's got to somehow keep that squad together, fighting and get them to get their first win.
There were rumours, correct me if I am wrong, that in the summer, well, I'm not saying these were conversations that were had over the summer, but there were rumours that, I think at the last season, or even when Wally took over, that perhaps Wally would be looking at more of a director of football role, and come the end of last season, he would step aside, take up that position, and Glyn Hodges would become our manager.
Yeah.
So, in that respect, should Wally be relieved of his duties, or should he not return to the position of first-team manager, we're not anticipating anyone else to join him, are we? You would expect or anticipate Glyn Hodges to stay and perhaps take on that role full-time, should it come to that. And yes, of course, I'm going to repeat for the millionth time before people get on our backs. This is merely just speculation at this point, but we are just thinking ahead to a likely possible outcome.
Yeah, you're right. And there was rumours. Unfortunately, there was a lot of rumours around the time of the appointment of Wally, wasn't there? Because the Kevin Nolan story broke. That was sort of made public, and yes, there was a lot of rumours going around that Wally, yes, when he done his presentation, it was to have a director of football, and it was the Eric who actually, we understand, said that we don't need that yet. And there's arguments for that. We definitely needed a head of recruitment, which is obviously what we've got now. So, I think with Glyn Hodges, I think it'd be interesting now to see whether Vaughan Ryan steps up, or does Mark Robinson come into the fold. You know, pre-season, Vaughan Ryan and Mark Robinson were taking train sessions and warm-up sessions when Glyn was up north. I believe his daughter had his first grandchild. So Robbo...
Yes, we've got to be careful with pronouns. His daughter gave birth to Glyn's first grandchild. Yes.
Yeah. English was never my specialist subject, as you surely would know by now. So I think realistically now, does Robbo come in? He's been doing the under-23s. I'd be quite happy. I think Glyn's going to need some support. It's a really difficult situation because, of course, you know, Wally and Glyn coming together, you know, Wally asked Glyn to come in. Glyn will very much be treating this as basically keeping Wally's seat warm and expecting him to come back. And I think that's what we have to look at. You know, he's been charged, but he's got a right to appeal. So until that appeal is seen and the Football Club Board and the Dons Trust Board have done their investigations, then at the moment Wally is still our manager. So Glyn has to really keep the seat warm for him. But I know we're going to look at the sort of preview for the Peterborough game, but you have to now think, does Glyn keep the 3-5-2? Does he keep the same tactics? Was that his choice? Because normally you will see the manager would overrule the coach or the assistant manager, but there's some the dynamics are quite interesting now, because if Glyn goes and changes formation on Saturday and doesn't play long ball, we'll all go, so it was Wally basically wanting to insist on that. So it does throw up so many different questions, which I'm sure we will get answers for in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, let's try and attempt to answer some of those questions very shortly. Just before we do that, two things. First of all, when I picked you up there about Glyn Hodges and his daughter's grandchild, that was less about your use of English and more about just general trend in society. We don't want to misgender people, because people get very upset if you do this in today's non-binary age. That's by the by. The second thing I was going to pick you up on was the fact you're saying that Glyn's keeping Wally's seat warm, but Wally doesn't often sit down. I've noticed this. You'll often see him, especially at home games, he's often stood up and scribbling furiously on a notepad, which I would love to know what's on that notepad.
Help.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all it says. As we stick another ball down the channel. You go,
did I sign that contract? Why did Harry talk to me about the job? No, we're joking. We're only playing. We
are joking. We should point out at this stage, by the way, because I just want to clear this up, because, you know, hey, we put ourselves out there, so we're there to be shot at. But please, like we always say, and thank you very much for all the people that do this, especially those of you that come up to us and have come up to us over the last month or so. We haven't mentioned on the podcast, just to pass on your nice messages about the podcast, and we thank you very much for listening and downloading every week. By the same token, I don't think we've been backwards in coming forwards when saying, if you've got any problems or complaints about the podcast, come and speak to us or email us 9yrs@may14.co.uk, tweet us, Facebook, whatever it is, with your complaints or your observations, and we'll quite happily address them. That said, if you throw something at us that we haven't said, it's very difficult for us to defend it because we haven't said it. And there seems to be a growing thought that we are wanting Wally Downes to be sacked, which is not true. Categorically not true, and absolute nonsense. So if you're putting a message out there saying that the 9 Years podcast are calling for Wally Downes to be sacked, I would just like to say, officially, you are incorrect. So please stop doing it, because it's not true.
Do you know what the funny thing is, actually? People do come up to me and say, you said this on the podcast. And I'm being truthful, I forget what I said. I know my opinion, but I go, what did I say? They look at me sometimes if, like, I know, you know me, we don't have a script, so we sometimes go off on tangents, but I know my opinion, and I have said I will go on record. You do not dismiss a manager in September. Anyone who listens to this podcast throughout the years, I apologise on your, I apologise for you having to be put through that. But I have said so many times we've talked about other teams that you do not sack a manager in September, and you give them a chance, and that's exactly where we are. Of course, this has thrown up a total curveball. No one saw this coming, but people kind of chat to us all the time. I love it. It's really, really weird when people say, I love your podcast, and you don't know who they are. It's the most weirdest thing ever, and they probably know more about your opinion than you do remember yourself. But that's why podcast is so great, because it reaches so many people.
This is true. And all those people that we are speaking to or reaching, we're now going to speak to about the Bristol Rovers game. Because you mentioned there, Stu, about how things have gone this season and how things seem to be against us and luck seems to be out. I would suggest that of all the games this season, this is one where luck certainly seemed to play a part for us, because on reflection, a 3-1 defeat does not seem a fair reflection on the game as a whole. This is not to say I was particularly overwhelmingly impressed by how we played, especially in the first half, when we continually knocked it long or into the channels, and it got very, very boring. We did score a great goal to take the lead, which, again, came from some quick thinking and a quick throw-on when Bristol Rovers gave the ball away cheaply. But we took the opportunity, we pounced on their mistake and we made them pay for it, and the finish is exceptional from Force. Second half, again, we're not playing much football, but we had the best chances. Force had a shot blocked by the keeper. Wagstaff went through on goal when we played on the counter-attack. Felivi had a chance when he fired wide. Felivi should have done better, really, when, again, we capitalised on a Rovers mistake. The difference is that when in the second half, when we made mistakes, Rovers managed to turn those mistakes into goals. We didn't turn theirs into goals. But they were aided by a red card and a very questionable second goal. So which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start off with the sending off or the second goal for Bristol Rovers?
I suppose let's go in order. So the sending off is probably the best one to hit, isn't it? So the first yellow, I think we all agree it was a very, very harsh yellow. The ruling is basically, I think the referee said that if a player touches a fan, then it's a booking. Well, let's be honest with you. We have the smallest ground. Force, when he scores a goal, doesn't have to do an awful lot to get in touch with fans. Not that he should be touching fans, but he's over exuberant. He's just scored a goal. It's just like, I know referees can't use common sense and they're all robots. I understand that nowadays. But you just start thinking, we are bottom of the league. I suppose really Force should be celebrating scoring their first goal in the first half, because we do that all the time, don't we? But he's just naturally happy, isn't he? And it's just like, to pick a booking up is just harsh. The problem is, though, if we look across the whole of football and, if you watch on Quest on Saturday nights, you will see players booked for celebrating goals, which makes you chuckle, doesn't it? Because the best thing about football, surely, well, apart from waiting for VAR to work, should be about scoring a goal. But you're penalised for doing it. I think we all agree that the booking was really harsh on the goal.
The issue with that booking is that, unfortunately, by the letter of the law, in any terms of appeals against it, we're not going to get very far with it, because the FA or whoever will look back over refereeing decisions are not going to find him at fault for giving a yellow card in that instance. What they might decide is that Bristol Rovers players should, for consistency's sake, have also been booked. Agogo certainly. Now, he's not touched any fan or anything like that, but he has celebrated in a manner which is likely to cause an issue, security or safety issue, because he essentially walks straight up to the fans in the 10% behind the goal and mocks them.
Yeah, it's a thing of, and this is the problem with football sometimes, isn't it? And referees get caught in this. It's sometimes evening things up, isn't it? How many times do you see a red card for one team and then another one gets a red card, or you give a dodgy penalty and then the referee gives another dodgy penalty? It's just like, well, I think fans and referees are sometimes very similar. If I'm being truthful, I didn't see too much of what Agogo did in terms of, I haven't seen it back on the replay, if I'm being honest with you. But I know he ran towards the athletics end. I know he did that. But as equally as I don't want, it's difficult. As equally as I don't want to see Force get booked for celebrating, I don't want to see what was hey, look, if you look at it from a totally neutral point of view, it was a great header. We can pick holes in the defending, I'm sure we will. I don't really want to then see someone else celebrating a goal. That's what more joy can you get? Is celebrating a goal, and to say to somebody like, let's think about it. We scored goals at the City of Manchester Stadium, and we've big goals we've celebrated. Are you telling me if you might have hugged someone next, if if you might get kicked out of the ground because you've just touched someone next to you or something like that? We all do it. It's emotion, isn't it? The game is about emotion, and you have the referee, who is not liked by anybody, having to, and this is the problem, having to give a yellow card, whether that referee actually thinks. I'm sure referees don't go in there being like headmasters and going, I'm just going to put, every time you do something that's against the rules of the game, I'm just going to punish you. I'm sure they want goals in games, but yeah, I've done a bit of a rant there. I just hate the fact that it's just, the worst one is a second yellow card. That's the worst thing. You've just scored a goal and you get sent off. That is just... Didn't we have that with Tom Elliott, if I remember properly? At a home game a couple of years ago.
He equalised against Charlton, and he got a second booking because it was like an injury time last minute equaliser, and he picked up a second booking because of excessive celebration. Yeah. It's slightly different, but because, to be honest with you, it would be slightly different in Force's case if the two bookings had chronologically come in a different order or swapped over, because I'd have had much sympathy with him if on a booking he then scored the goal that he did score, celebrate the way he celebrated, the referees was like, no, that's too much, you're off. Whereas the way it happened, he was on a booking and he met, I know Wally was defending him in a post-match, which is fine. I mean, I'm not going to, that's what Wally's chosen to do in public, but privately I'll be saying to him, look, you've made a daft challenge, you've made a daft foul, and it was, yes, it is an inexperience, but also don't forget he was substituted a few days before that away at Coventry with the express aim of avoiding that same situation happening. So he did have that experience, quite new experience, or what's the word I'm looking for? Close time-wise. I can't think of the goddamn word. Yeah,
and do you know what the thing is that it's inexperience, and this is why we've got these players on loan. This is, Trott's on loan because of that reason. Saunders, remember him? Saunders, we got him a couple of weeks ago. He's on loan again for experience. I don't think the experience was to be sitting on a wooden bench. Is it wooden anymore? Or I don't think the experience was to be sitting on a seat in Kings Meadow for most of the game. But we've got these players on loan, unfortunately, to make their mistakes. And it was a mistake. The thing with Force is that he's got kidded by, and we're probably going to go on to this, but Rovers were so much more experienced. But I thought their number 9, Clark Harris, was probably, and we've actually said this, and I know people are going to laugh, but you actually mentioned, I think you were spot on, very similar to Lars Taylor. In terms of just knew the game. He got people involved, he got touch tight with people, he went over as soon as he was touched. And the thing was, he got Force sent off. And it wasn't because he'd done anything wrong, he just played the game in terms of the experience of it. The free kick was done, he saw Force charging out at like 100 miles an hour, and he knew that any slight touch meant that Force was out of the game, he had to collide into him, and it was a booking. He got him sent off. Nothing wrong in that. I don't think he was wrong in what he did, he was just smart. And he was probably, in my opinion, the biggest difference between the teams, and influenced the result massively.
He was very cute, and
I don't know about that. I didn't really look at him that way.
Well, I thought he was, to be honest with you. And but he was like all the things you're saying there: buying free kicks, buying time, all these little niggly things that we said that we thought we might be a little bit more street smart about, but we haven't proved to be. So. You're quite right. Don't forget that the foul that Force makes for that booking comes literally 90 seconds after they got a free kick, which could have seen Delaney sent off, and the referee probably had that in the back of his mind as well. So, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Clark Harris again, actually, that was on the counter-attack going towards goal. He got the better of Will, and I guess the referee was perhaps thinking that Will was also in a position to cover Delaney in the situation which saw Delaney make the foul. Delaney was booked, he could have been sent off. Yeah, 2 minutes later, Force is.
I thought it was a red card. I'm honest as much. I was thinking, we're in trouble here. Thing was, again, he was very smart. He got a goal sign. He actually had the speed to get past Delaney and Nightingale, but he deliberately slowed up. You could see it. He checked his stride. So you had Delaney and Nightingale desperately trying to get in goal side, and he literally, he sort of pulled up a little bit as if he was lame. He slowed down, he got a touch, he went over. And again, he looks at it from a point of view that, and we'll talk about goals and celebrating goals here, he looks at it from a different point of view of going, do you know what, I'm their last man, I'm goal side. If I go down here, potentially this is a game-changing decision. And in the end, he didn't get it. He had to wait 90 seconds, and he got a different player. But again, he was smart, and I've got nothing. I looked at it. I said to you that Rovers were everything. They played a 3-5-2, but they played it so much better. And the reason they played it better is because they just had a lot more streetwise experience. And their 3-5-2 showed us how to play that system. We can't play it.
I do want to explain. I do want to discuss with you and have you explain the differences in how we utilised our 3-5-2 systems on Saturday, and then how Bristol Rovers changed once we changed formations, and Wally sort of gambled by going 3 up front, which was immediately rendered mute really because of the sending off. But we did mention the second goal, so let's just get this out of the way as well. The second goal, I have no idea how a linesman, because it was given by the linesman, who waved his flag to indicate the ball had crossed the line after Trott had... He'd fluffed the save from the Clark Harris header. He'd fluffed it to such an extent that I didn't actually see the goal live, because as soon as Clark Harris put the header down into the ground and it looped up, I looked away, because I was like, well, he's missed that chance, and Trott's got that comfortably. And when I look up, the ball's sort of... There's a big scramble on the goal line, and then I can see the linesman flagging or waving his flag to indicate goal given. The linesman is in no position to be able to see if that ball's crossed the line. He has guessed. He has totally guessed. And that I do not think, given all the other circumstances, I'm not sure there's a push involved there either, by the way, but given all the circumstances involved, the last decision I expect to see from that situation is the award of a goal.
It's weird, isn't it? Because I'll be truthful, I didn't actually... I still watched the play, because the reason I continued to watch was because Clark Harris, he actually mistimed his header. So he wants to do a downward header, but he went straight into the ground. And because it looped up so high, I straight away thought that's going to be a difficult ball, because it was going to loop and then come down. I didn't expect him to do that, but I don't know, I kept on it, because I felt that it wasn't as easy. It wasn't a straightforward take and move on. You know, the header was so well put into the ground, it must have bounced. I don't know, I'm not good with... It must have bounced the height of the John Green stand. That's a slight exaggeration, but you know what I mean. The thing is, my gut feeling, and I'm a fan, so my gut feeling was it was a goal, and I was on the halfway line in the Paul Strank stand. My gut feeling was it was a goal, purely for the fact that where Trott was, the speed that he had to then go back towards his goal, I thought it was really, really close. My gut feeling was, because I looked straight over to the assistant referee, and when I normally do that, it's either I think it's offside or it's going to be a goal. And when he waved, I was like, ah. However, when we watched it back, because Bristol Rovers had a really good goal cam, didn't they? When you watch it back, the first thing you think is, he can never have seen that ball. So he done what I'd done, but I'm not paid to referee a game in such an important situation. My gut feeling was a goal. His gut feeling was a goal, but he can't go on a gut feeling. And there was just no way that he can give that. There's just no way.
It's one of those things about technology in football. I think we've all agreed goal line technology is positive, because it's a very simple black and white issue that can be resolved on the spot. So as soon as that ball crosses the line, the officials can know that it's happened, and the game can carry on as before. So that is where technology in football should have started and ended. We can talk forever about VAR. I'm sure I will do. I love ranting about VAR because I hate it. But that is an issue, because in the highest level, they get an advantage of goal line technology that we don't have because of finances and what have you. But without it, as you say, referee has to be, or linesman have to be 100% certain in these instances, and there's no way they could be. So that's disappointing. That said, like we said, for me, there's no push on the goalkeeper. I know a lot of people saying it was a foul.
There's no push.
There's no push. No, he drops the ball, and there might be a slight little bit of contact as the striker follows in, but nowhere foul. The irony, of course, about this is that, because I'm thinking if it's at the other end, and that same situation happens, and it's Joe Pigott on the goal line, Joe Pigott being physical. Sorry, give me a moment to chuckle over that one. But if that goal was then disallowed because of a foul on the goalkeeper, I'd be fuming and I'd be doing my rant about how goalkeepers seem to be allowed to get away with anything in these situations. But the irony is, in the first half, Trott did get a free kick for a foul when the Bristol Rovers player was nowhere near him whatsoever. And I even referenced it at the time. I was sitting next to my dad on Saturday, and I turned to him and I said, look, that's never a foul. How do goalkeepers continually get this extra allowance when it comes to physicality that our players don't get? So that's the irony with the second goal. There is no push, but there's normally, when a player is that close to the goalkeeper and touches him, the referee will normally give it. So we on the whole, very unlucky with that goal. Not unlucky with goals number 1 and 3.
No, well, all the goals annoy me, to be honest with you. But then the problem is, I've said this before, you can pick holes, and Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, if he's still recovered from Roy Keane, giving him a bit of a hard time on the weekend, can all pick holes in every goal. You can always pick great play or what were they doing wrong there. But the first goal, it just disappoints me because Will is just so much better than what he did. Nichols was, the thing about it was, Nichols was starting to give...
Nichols was a pain in the arse.
Yeah, for about 10 minutes before that goal, he was starting to give Will a real nightmare, in terms of... I've said to you before, isn't it? Paul Canaboy looks as strong as an ox, but he doesn't use his body weight as a footballer in the right ways. Now, Nichols, to be fair, you look at him in the street and you think he's I don't know, he's just a normal person. Well, he is a normal person. What I mean by that, yeah, I know. Let me try and quantify what I mean by that. He's not an alien. But what I mean by that is, when he was he actually was able to use, he isn't a very physical person looking. He doesn't look, totally, Barack and Fenwa. But he gave our defenders a nightmare because he kept backing in and he was knocking them off, knocking them off balance. They weren't getting easy headers, and Will was having a bit of a challenge with him. So I don't know. Sometimes players can get a little bit caught up in that macho. I'm stronger than you. I'm going to boss you. I'm going to go right through the back of you. I don't understand why Will tries to do what he did, because he goes wrong side. So he tries to look like he's trying to save a corner. Now, at that point, the corner isn't really a big problem, actually. As a centre-half, you don't really want to be out on the touchline. Any centre-half doesn't want to be there because that's not really where they're comfortable. But he then tries to sneak around the outside of him, and Nickel just rolls him. And then because Will's trying to put so much physicality into it, Will's gone flying over. And then from then, you have to say Nichols has put a great ball in. And Agogo has literally just read what's going to happen. You can see Riley and there's one other. But I remember, as soon as the ball was put in, I remember looking at Agogo and he was the only one moving. And it's a great header in the end. But it's just... Will, I don't know why he did it. And Will's probably gone mad at himself. I think he just got a bit too... As if he was just trying to prove a point, and Nichols just rolled him. And unfortunately, that was the start of Bristol Rovers getting back into the game.
So I'm just Googling to see, is Tom Nichols Batman? I'm wondering.
You know what I mean?
He might be Spider-Man, maybe? Superman? What might he be?
The reason I say that, right, let me just back up what I'm saying. My boy wasn't too well, actually, on Saturday. So we stayed behind a little while. So we left about 20 past 5, and actually the players were starting to go on the team coach, and I actually did recognise Nichols just on his phone, and I looked at the size of him and I'm thinking, how has Will got done by him? And that's why I'm saying it. He just looked normal, as anyone could be.
Okay. Third goal, we can sum up very, very quickly. Awful. Third goal is awful. But do you know what? The worst thing about the third goal, it's just a corner and a header. I mean, it's simple as. It's so bad. And you're probably going to talk about Nathan Trott and how teams attack him at set pieces. The bigger issue for me, aside from the goal, was the reaction to it, which was 9 outfield players, heads bowed, shoulders slumped, trudging back to the centre circle for the kickoff. No one talking, no one chatting, no one encouraging. Yes, we're 2 goals down. Yes, we've got a man down. A game is never, ever over until it's over. We'd gone by that point. And that tells you where the mentality is with this team now. It's in a very bad place.
Well, the problem is, you say there's 9 players on the pitch with heads down. I saw about 300 or 400 fans with their heads down and steaming out of the ground. I've not seen, and I can't remember the last time I've seen an evacuation like that. I know the club promised there was going to be an avalanche on Saturday, but I don't think we realised it was going to be the fans that were going to be trying to avoid it. It was really weird. Do you know what? I was in the, I was in the halfway line. I was in the posh seats. on Saturday. Not the posh seats, not the.
You were behind me. You were in the same block that I was.
They're posh seats. They're
They're not posh seats. They're just in the middle of the stand, so they get a good view.
You sit with Ray Armfield, who again is one of our posher fans. So he'll laugh when I say that. Ray's a great lad, but great person. Don't want to call me a lad. But you sit in the posh seats. Let's be fair, right? Halfway line, great seats.
Seriously, we're going to have to address this, okay? Because just no.
Well, it's a great view anyway. But you saw obviously what I saw. Loads of people went, and do you know what I mean? Like, but one thing that made me laugh was I was next to a couple, an elderly couple. Exactly elderly, I'm old now, but they were older than I was. And it was funny because the lady was, we had a good laugh actually. We were just talking about football generally, and she was going, "I want to leave, but I don't think I should." And it was one of those. And then when she left, she apologised to me. She goes, "I'm really sorry." She goes, "But we ain't going to win this." And I went, "You haven't got to apologise to me." But you could see, it was really weird, right? You could see the same conversation with other people. Like, should we leave? I didn't, because I think I was just reflecting on what I was watching out there. You know, you just saw the team, unfortunately, and you're right, the heads down. Second goal killed it. The third goal, Trot gets tagged. We are going to have to accept that people are going to populate and fill the 6-yard area to make sure that Trot can't move. That's going to happen. We're going to have to find a way around it. But that's going to happen. But yeah, the place just evacuated, didn't it? And there was a booze at the full-time whistle. I think that was a mixture for the referee, a lot for the referee. But there was a lot of fans around me that were really, really unhappy. And they're all saying what I've been saying. That's 10 games now. Unfortunately, the difference between 9 and 10 is that 10 is two digits, isn't it? I know it's stupid, but when it gets to 2 digits, then it becomes a bit serious.
Yes, we know we're in a bad predicament. It's a fascinating quote because a lot of people have that sense of loyalty. I feel like I want to leave, but I don't feel like I should. I think for me on Saturday, it was a case of prior to the game on Saturday morning thinking, don't know if I really want to go, but I probably should.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at the moment. And it's quite weird. I was reading the WAP guest book this week. I have been known to post on this sporadically. And quite a few people one evening saying similar sort of things, thinking I'm not really enjoying it, and I've not really enjoyed it for quite a long time. To the point where if I don't go to a game or I've reason to miss a game, I'm not really fussed. Whereas we've all been in that position where we've had it in the past where something's come up and we've had to miss a game and we've been gutted. But no one really has that feeling anymore. And it's a very strange place that we're in, considering that the holy grail of playing back in Wimbledon is months away. And yet morale around the place is at its lowest ebb it's been for a while. And of course, events of the week with Wally Downs as well is just not helping that, I assume. It's just a really strange place we're at. And it's also reflected in the atmosphere at Kings Meadow because there isn't any. And there's lots of little things that seem to be going against us, don't I? And you're right when you say, Stu, getting that cup draw we had and having to play that team twice so early and losing them both, I think that's had a big effect on our psyche, more than people would like to admit. Yeah.
Well, the really weird thing was actually, you're right about the game. I'll give you an example. I don't really look now at the official site, and I don't look at it now because really I know what's happening. I don't want to hear Wally defending, and I know he will. He has every right to. But I really just can't bother. I know what I've seen, and I'm not really too impressed with it. However, I did get really excited Sunday, Monday, when they showed the biggest erection in Plough Lane with that metal.
What?
What's it? No, like when they put scaffolding up.
Yes,
there was. Yeah, that I just that was the. I've never known me to get so happy of just seeing basically some metal being stuck out of the ground.
You've never been so happy to see an erection.
That's what they call it.
That's what I took from that.
That's what they call it when it gets erected, isn't it?
They call it when something gets erected. They call it an erection.
Yeah, exactly. So it was erected. There's a scaffolding out the ground. It was erected, and it was the biggest one in Plough Lane that day. I lie.
Has anyone anywhere ever heard the words erected and erection said so many times in such a short space of time?
But that made me happy.
I bet it did.
But but that made me happy in terms of that it was out of the ground and there was a structure happening. But anything around the Saturday at Kings Meadow, like we've got a scoreboard now. Well, I don't know why we've got a scoreboard.
Chelsea ladies have.
What did ladies have, haven't they? And to be fair to Chelsea, they should be the first ones to test it. No point us putting it on there because we know we might just put 1-0 up already because we know, we scored 78% of. I'm going to be a stat man like Georgetown was on Love Sport Radio. I've never heard a stat so many times. Well, Neil Hardy would have run him close with stats on George. But we scored 78% of our goals in the first half, so you might as well just put 1-0 up already. But it's just, Kings Meadow is. I've said it before. Everyone can't wait to leave. We now just know we're going to probably be in League Two next season. I think that's odds on, if I'm being honest with you. I think I'm just going to accept that like we did last year and hope that another miracle happens because that's what's going to have to happen this year.
Going back to football 3-5-2. So, what impressed you about Bristol Rovers' version of 3-5-2 that you haven't seen from our version of 3-5-2?
Well, the difference is just that the way they played it in terms of, so, two men up front who could hold the ball. So Nichols and Clark Harris were more than comfortable to be a link man. Every time it went to him, it stuck. But there's always a threat. Clark Harris behind, always had the pace to run in behind, but didn't too many times in the first half. But for me, it was the three in midfield. Circum, which we all know, and wherever he's gone, we've always gone, we'd love to have him playing for us. You had a Go-Go got the goal, and you had Upson, who people are going to say, you don't want to talk about Amy's ex, whatever. We know where he played before, but I'll be truthful. Whenever he's played against us, you've always thought decent player. What I mean by that is Circum wins the ball, gives it to Upson. Circum can pass it, or he can give it to Upson. Upson can just create a pass. So every time he got the ball, he was able to shift the angle. He was able to move the ball, find somebody. Agogo had the strength. Always won. Circum and Agogo, I think, won most of their battles. The funny thing for me was their actual wing backs, because Rodman was the wing back on the right hand side for Rovers, and he played that role really well. From memory, Rodman is normally a winger, or sometimes can play up front. Seen him through the years, but it just felt to me everything they'd done was, and even to their back three. I noticed Craig has scored the winner. I think he's ex-Millwall from memory.
Yeah. Yes.
They never got stretched. So remember I've said to you before, what sometimes happens is that our defenders sometimes get shifted, so they get drawn to the ball, and as soon as a 3-5-2, as soon as your centre halves get drawn to a ball, if one goes, then all of a sudden, if he does shift it, you're doing one man short, and there's always a space in behind. And that was, if you look at the goal against them a couple of weeks ago, that was significant when we got drawn out, and then Paul Cannon-Bayer was left last man, and then got done. But their three never really moved too much in terms of staying in a straight line. They didn't have to come out because the midfield done that job for them. And it was really interesting to see. That's why that's why I got the post cheats on the halfway line. Because I knew they were going to match us up because I had been playing 3-5-2. And they played it really well. And it wasn't, I felt the longer the game went, they were going to win it. Because, unfortunately, we've seen another 2 goals in the last 15. So that's now 6 goals we've conceded in the last 15 minutes. But I just always thought they were going to wear us down. But saying that, I look at a chance that Wagstaff had. That's a hell of a chance and a hell of a save. Small moments can just change seasons, can't they?
Yeah, Wagstaff's chance goes in. Different game. Good save by the keeper, to be fair. Falevi, very early in the second half, shoots wide.
Yes.
God love him for Levy. He's a very talented player, but we say it every week he plays, just not a goal scorer. No goal threat and still no goal this season, and that's the problem we've got with him.
He's like one of those people that doesn't age. He still looks like he's 15.
It's because he is 15.
But it feels like we got him back for the second loan, but he doesn't feel like he's got older. I just don't. He's not. We've said it before. Do you know what I mean? He can play in behind. He can probably play that Wordsworth role, just behind a 2. But you know what? I don't want to. It's not about moaning about. I said to you on Saturday, I actually come away from that quite. People said to me we've been competitive all the games, and I've disputed that and gone, what's your definition of competitive? Because I don't necessarily think we have in every game. However, I really felt that we gave Bristol Rovers a game and we had good chances. We got done a bit of luck. And you know what? Wally made the right subs. In my opinion, Wally went for it. No one can argue that he didn't go for it. And, bringing Wordsworth on was the right thing to do. Bringing Roscoe on and Pigott, I think it was the right moves. We just, you can't legislate for an inexperienced player from Brentford just losing their head for a bit. So it isn't all doom and gloom, but again, we've come out the wrong side of a 3-1 with a scoreline.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's 11 without a win in all competitions this season, 12 if you include that trophy, which we don't include, so we won't. And one win, what is it? One win in, blimey, if it's 11 this season, one win in 17 in all competitions dating back to last season. So yeah, I mean, we can't disguise those facts. They are the facts of the matter. But
well, the funny thing is, just very quickly, if you fancy a bet, the average minute we can see the goal is on it. Oh, I won't give you that bit of. I just want to give you a bit of advice on the average time we can see their goals.
Go on. But we're not advocating this. Anyone does this, by the way, especially anyone connected to the club.
It's the average time we can see the goal. Do you want to know when we score our first goal normally on average?
20-something minute?
Not far off, the 37th minute. So, yeah, if you fancy a bet on the weekend, you're not involved in football, there's your tip from Stu.
75th minute, you say, is the average time we concede?
57th minute.
57th, sorry, I misheard. Okay, thank you for that.
That's all right.
Looking at the week on the pitch, who was it a good week for of all our players?
Who was it a good week for? Wordsworth?
Yes, I'm glad you said that, because that was what I was about to say before I forgot, because I got distracted about the betting on minutes we're going to concede. So yes, Wordsworth, what an encouraging sign that is, getting back into first team action, and we need him back.
Can I just say though, you have to, when you're on the touchline as a fan, you think, I could do better than they can, and I'm sure footballers when they're out in the game are like, I just want to get back, I want to help my team and stuff like that. And you know what, he come on. I think he was on for what? He come on the 61st minute and Force got sent off on 66. So he had 5 minutes where he was really going for the ball and getting the ball and playing it.
And being vocal.
And then all of a sudden, of course, the game changed at the goal. And you just... I actually looked at him a couple of times and you could just see that sort of, wow, this is it. Like, in terms of this team needs a leader, it needs something. And he just wasn't the right person. There's nothing he could have done. It's not a one-man game. But you sort of looked at him and you felt like he could probably realise the gravity of the situation. But yeah, he's back out. He's back out there. We desperately need him. So I think that would be, if you can think of anything positive, that would probably be my shout.
Are we going to go for Force as having the worst week of everyone? I guess we kind of have to. He scored a fantastic goal, though.
It's a great goal. I think it'd be unfair to... Hey, look, all he's done, we moan week in, week out that no, we haven't got no leaders and we've got no one that actually is fighting for the ball and charging. And he does everything that we've asked. So to give him, to say that he's done something, it's just an experience. But for me, the goal was great. You sort of knew as soon as you shifted it, you knew he was going to score it. The worst, I still think O'Neill was poor this week. He's had a bad couple of weeks.
Do you know what? It's like August, he was, and I even said Player of the Year. September, September's been. I can't dress it up any other way. He's been poor. This is a shame. It's a real shame.
I don't think it's because, again, I just think as a player that's he's one of our players that we expect something from. Do you know what I mean? We've all sung his praises, and rightly so. But at the moment, there's a lot of pressure on him because he's got to defend, and he's got to, I think he's got our most assists and stuff like that. There's a lot of pressure on him. I think at the moment it's just starting to show his own game is starting to get affected, and that's sometimes going to happen with your experienced players.
Elsewhere in the league, who had the best week for you in terms of results? There were two that stood out for me. Obviously, we'll mention Oxford scoring 6 at Lincoln because that's ridiculous, and there'll be worries about the situation at Lincoln after the Cowleys going, but I think Michael Appleton is a decent appointment, despite the fact I think going back to our first ever podcast, we said he was going to be the first manager sacked that season, and Oxford ended up getting promoted. I think we both said it, to be fair. We called that one wrong. We do get things wrong. So good win, great win almost for Oxford, where they seem to have a goal of the season competition in that second half alone. Yeah. And then obviously the other one for me, Tranmere, beating Burton Albion. And I'll tell you why I've highlighted that one, because Tranmere are a team that they will be down there all season. They will be in the scrap to stay up all season, but they've just beaten what is a very strong Burton side, from behind, I may add. And it's a result I don't think we would get necessarily.
And that's how you start looking at them. That's how you start looking at results. You're right. I looked at it exactly the same way, thinking, could we have come back and have we got a resolve? And I don't think we have at the moment. It's worrying when Tranmere do that, because you're thinking, well, they're going to be down amongst us, aren't they? There's a couple. There's some really good results. Bolton he pulled off a great result against Sunderland, apart from a late penalty. I think my one would be Wickham, because again they are just picking. They're not conceding goals. Pompey are just, well, I don't know what's happened to Pompey. They got tanked in the derby day in the week in a cup game, 4-0 at home. So that's not gonna go down too well. And I'd imagine Jacket is going to be under quite a bit of pressure quite soon, if not already. But I think probably mine would be Wickham. Unfortunately, Southend picking up a win.
No, not unfortunately. No.
Well, for us it's unfortunately, but in the wider scheme of it, I wish they smashed them, and I think they did.
I celebrated that immensely because I hate Milton Keynes with a goddamn passion. Hate. There is a story that I cannot share on the podcast just yet, but I will be in the new year, and you'll understand why my hatred has increased exponentially just over the past week alone. That said, I have got a certain fixture on in the background because I left my TV on. What a mistake. I can't change it now because we're recording the podcast. Brennan Dickinson. What a dickhead. I didn't realise this. An absolute twat. He's actually playing for them.
Yeah, he played for us, didn't he, on loan?
Oh, what a...
Yeah, what a person. Yeah, I didn't put it on. Obviously, it's Wednesday night. We've given it away when we're recording it.
Yeah, because I said it in the first 5 minutes, Jim.
Yeah, I'm watching a soap opera. It's a soap opera that's gone on for 3 years, and it's played out in Westminster. It's the best show on TV. You've got to watch it.
No, the best show is 2-0 Liverpool. Huh? The best show on TV is The Circle.
Oh, that is... If you're not watching The Circle, where have you been? Oh, yeah, I love it.
Who's your favourite so far?
I have to say Tim.
Really?
Because
he used to present Bargain Hunt.
He is basically... See, the thing is, I'm older now and I'm married. So I know you're going to like the ladies in there who are not popular.
You think you know me so well, Stu.
I do.
You think
I do.
Yes, it's a Mel. Yeah,
I do. Me and my wife were watching it, and Lorraine was going, "Yep, Nick would like her, not like her," and she called it. No, do you know what? It's funny, and I was saying to you before we started recording. It's obviously about social media and how people perceive people. So, of course, I went on to Twitter last night to see how social media was reacting to it, and it was just like some people were going, "This is the first time I've watched it, and I am so confused." And I'm like, that is what it's all about. It's basically about you got a lady, you got a cheeky scouser, as he called himself, who is pretending to be a single mum. The funny thing is, he doesn't actually know the single mum or the child, but he's using their photos. It's been allowed. That's mucked up. And then he was having a conversation with a mum who is playing her son. So two people who are not playing as themselves were talking to each other. What is that all about? If you're not watching it, please watch it on Catch Up channel. Was it Catch? What do they call it? Catch Up TV? I don't know what it's called. Channel 4. Just
on demand. Channel 4.
That's the
4OD, I think they call theirs. Yeah.
Watch it. Trust me, you'll be as confused, but it's great fun.
To be fair, it is great entertainment, but anything is better entertainment than watching Wimbledon right now.
It is.
I think that's fair to say. Even going to watch Elton John... No, actually, no, I'll draw a line there. No. Can't take that far. And that's the other thing I was going to say before we got totally sidetracked, was that not only did I celebrate Southend's win on the weekend, but Manchester City, another team that I absolutely hate, I was a big Man City fan on Saturday because they embarrassed Watford again. And 8-0 is hilarious. So thank you, Manchester City, for that.
Hey, look. Do you know what? I've got, obviously at work, I've got a lot of Chelsea fans and all that sort of stuff. And I laugh at them and they go, "Why are you laughing?" I'm going, because you're now seeing that money is even impacting the big six now. Like Man City, or an 8-0 scoreline is not... Years ago when I remember Newcastle scoring, was it 7 or 8 against Sheffield Wednesday?
Yeah, 8-0.
Many years ago we lost 7-1 at Villa. But they were like scores you went, wow, where did that come from? To be fair, that day at Villa Park we got smashed 7-1. We were shocking. But did it surprise you that Man City smashed Watford and they were, 5-0 up in God knows how many time?
Yeah, 20 minutes or so.
There's money, as much as we say about a Premiership, there's loads of money. There is massive money and big differences of money between, a Watford team and a Man United team, even though Man United got beat West Ham, which it's quite funny. But yeah, I knew you'd be happy that Man City won against Watford.
I was. And I'm even happier now because it's time for our game. It's time for Nick Zan Every Second countdowns. Oh, blimey, we might have to change this game soon.
Yeah.
Oops. Okay, anyway. And I've got a little bit of work to do because I need to get the music started. I need to find the music because I've not got the music. What a numpty. We're distracted by other things. So let's see if I can find it quickly.
Well, as we were talking about the circle, I'm going to look on social media just to see what the reaction has been everywhere. Of course. Yeah, you can see what's happening, can't you?
I have.
And it's also, it's not called a Carling Cup anymore, is it? What's the cup called now?
It's the Carabao Cup.
Of course, that Mickey Mouse thing. Yeah, I actually didn't realise. So my son wasn't well. I didn't realise there was games Tuesday night when I laughed when I saw Southampton have won like 4-0 and there's some interesting. I think Arsenal won 5-0 against Forest, didn't they? It's some really big scores. So I think I will be watching the goals. Hopefully, that team who think it's their big cup final this week will have got smashed out of sight.
They're losing as I speak now. But anyway,
that's a shame.
I have found the music and now I have found the game. So. Marcus Force was sent off on Saturday, Stu. It was the 23rd red card we had received since returning to the Football League in 2011. In league matches. This does not include other competitions. This is league matches only. He became the 20th different player to receive a red card in a league fixture since our return to the Football League in 2011. Stu, as many of the 19 others, please, can you name for me? How many do you think you will get in 30 seconds?
I'm drastically going through my head now and thinking I'm going to do well to get on two hands, I think. Wow.
Okay, well, here we go.
I can't think of any. I'm just going to go through the players that were terrible.
Okay, well, let's try it. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Let's go centre half then. So, Jamie Stewart.
No, bizarrely.
Paul Robinson.
Yes.
I don't know. Luke Moore, Sammy Moore.
Sammy Moore, yeah.
Lyle Taylor, I think it's something.
Yes, Lyle Taylor.
Tom Elliott.
Yes.
Danny Bullman.
Danny Bullman, yes.
Stephen Gregory.
No.
Didn't make it for a tackle. Wow, that was a tough one.
Do you know, it gets very difficult at the very end as well because the music gets so loud in my ears that I can't actually hear if you're speaking over that last couple of seconds. But by my logic, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 19, which is not bad.
Yeah.
My logic doesn't even make sense because my record. So some of these names, Stu, are unreal. You would never have guessed these. It's quite funny listening to the full list. So you correctly identified.
John May would have been one, wouldn't he?
No, because he never played for us in the Football League.
Sorry, John.
So you said Danny Bullman, yes. Lyle Taylor, who was indeed sent off twice for us. Once away at Mansfield, I think, and I can't remember the other one. Paul Robinson, yes, and Tom Elliott, as we referenced earlier on the podcast. The other names. Ricky Wellard was the first. Away at Aldershot, bizarrely. Christian Jolly. I know. Christian Jolly got sent off twice for us. Possibly in Terry Brown's last game as well. Jack Midson got sent off twice for us. Okay. Paul McCallum. Forgot he played for us.
A lot of forwards being sent off. Forwards, I suppose the argument is forwards don't tackle, but actually when they do tackle, they're bad.
They suck at it, yeah.
Yes.
George Frankham got sent off.
Oh.
Jim Fenlon.
Now in Scotland, I think.
Matt Tubbs.
He deserved it.
Mark Phillips.
Yeah, forgot about him.
Carly Osborne. That was away at Luton Town. Everybody's second club. Ryan Sweeney.
Yes.
Away at Morecambe, I think.
Will Nightingale's going to be one of them, surely.
It's not, no. Jonathan Meads is. Jim Abdu. I think that was away at Blackpool.
Yeah.
Harry Forrester. And then the last one before Marcus Force is indeed everybody's favourite player, Mitch Pinnock.
When did he get sent off?
Charlton.
Yeah, that reckless challenge, wasn't it?
Charlton, yeah. So,
cool.
Anyway.
Oh, well, I sucked at that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Peterborough on Saturday.
Oh, cheers.
Moving swiftly on, so I'll quickly run through these bits because I think we're nearing the hour mark. They're currently 9th in the division, so not quite as well as everyone thinks they're doing. In fact, they have lost a third of their games so far this season. They've won 4, drawn 2 and lost 3. Last week they lost 2-0 at Doncaster, which was actually their first defeat since they actually lost the opening 2 games of the league season. And they hadn't lost in the intervening time up until Doncaster. I think it's a problem that Darren Ferguson has. I think when he was manager at Doncaster, he always lost against Peterborough, and now he's gone back to Peterborough. He always loses to Doncaster. It's very strange. But in their 9 league games so far this season, they have scored 20 goals. Yes, that includes a 6-0 hammering of Rochdale and a 4-0 victory in Buckinghamshire. It's because they've got goal scorers. Ivan Toney, Mo Issa, James Maddison. That is quality. That's why they are tipped to do well this season. And that defeat to Doncaster, as I mentioned, was their only defeat in the last 6. So, our manager is suspended, and they haven't lost at home since the opening day. And we've lost every single time we've played at home. Will we actually get a point away from home for the first time this season?
The funny thing is, if you'd asked me this yesterday, I probably would have said, you're having a laugh. I don't think we can get nothing. However, we all know how football works sometimes, and sometimes in moments of adversity, sometimes random results happen, don't they? So I'm going to go for a totally mental draw. I think we're going to get. I'm not as stupid to think we could get a win.
I thought that was what was coming there when you were just like a totally mental draw.
Well, I would say though, just to give you some positive sort of like some positive energy, Nick. They haven't scored a goal yet in the last 15 minutes.
No, because they've not been playing. We've been recording the podcast. It's like Wednesday night. They're not even playing.
Yeah, they haven't scored in the last 15 minutes. So
yes. They've not scored in the last 15 minutes of a game.
But yeah, their goals per game is like 2.22. Desmond Tutu's. Yeah, it's a tough fixture, isn't it? You know, I think you have to accept that if Madison's playing well, and Tony and Elsa, and they've got Boyd in midfield, and they've got a lot of talent. If any of those 4 players, you know, if 2 of those 4 players play well, then we're in trouble. So we're going to have to hope that they have a bad day and we have a good day, and we might get a draw.
Imagine going 11 league games into a new season. If we don't win on Saturday, we'll be going into October without a league win. That is scary, isn't it?
And the irony is, if we do win, it don't count as a Wally's first win.
No. No, I suppose not.
I'm saying that because, of course, there was such a divide between between the Wally fans and the Paddington fans who are not happy because Neil got sacked. There's a plot playing out on social media at the moment, so I'm just going with that. But yeah, we'll get a draw. I'm confident of that.
Okay, was there any other games in League One that took your fancy this weekend?
No, because I haven't looked.
I'll tell you, there's one that stands out then. Southend versus Accrington.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Accrington are a weird one, aren't they? Because they're getting dragged into it. Not a major surprise because of that it is. But yeah, well, they're 3 points. Yeah, 3 points apart from each other, aren't they? So, you know, you look at the league table, Pompey, literally just above the relegation places. Yeah, Jacket is gone. And, yeah, get your coat.
I was going to make that joke earlier, but I didn't. There wasn't an opportunity for me to squeeze it in.
Oh, sorry.
Oh well. That's why we have so many listeners, Stu. It's jokes like that.
Everyone knew it was coming. Come on, everyone knew that joke was coming. I'm just having a look now. Actually, what you got? Not much, is there really? You might have seen it, but Pompey Bolton. That's an interesting one. A lot of pressure on Pompey at the moment. I don't think they won't be playing at home. Bolton picked up their first point in the season and now trying to get them back into positive numbers, aren't they? So, yeah. Indeed.
And in fact, Bolton's point on Saturday means that no team has picked up fewer points than us this season. So there we go. Anyway, thank you very much for that, Stu. Ladies, very quickly then, they drew 1-1 with Cambridge City on the weekend. We got no further with our investigation as to whether Elizabeth Berkley is the same one that was in Saved by the Bell, so had to put that on hold for this week. I will try and do some more digging. In the meantime, the draw with Cambridge, our goal was scored by Steph Mann. And there was me thinking it was the ladies' team. We host Enfield Town on Sunday at 2 p.m. at Carl Shulton Athletic, Colston Avenue. So it's free entry, so if you can get down there, please do, to support the ladies. And that is it. Music quiz. If you recognise the song at the start of this week's podcast, tweet us at 9YRS Podcast with the name of the artist, the name of the song, and the year it was released. Last week it was Driftwood by Travis. It was released in 1999, as correctly told to us by Lee Rumbelow at Meadow AFCW, and also at Wandle the Womble, who told it or gave their answer almost poetically. So thank you very much to you guys for getting in touch. That is it for this week. Updates from the Game with Peterborough will be on Twitter at 9YRS Podcast. And as I mentioned earlier, always feel free to contact us on Facebook or 9YRS at may14.co.uk via email. We are happy to answer any of your questions and respond to any of your suggestions or criticisms or whatever it might be. And then you've got the Love Sport radio show on Sunday at 8 p.m, which at time of recording, my name is down to do. I assume this will still be the case, but it might change. We just don't know. What I will say is I must get last week's show up on iTunes for people that missed it. Fantastic show, highlighted for me by the phone call that came in. I believe it was from Toby and his 9-year-old son. What passion. That's all I'm going to say. And that was actually a positive for me this week, because actually, like I said to you earlier, people on the guest books and what have you saying they're feeling a bit jaded with everything at the moment and not really feeling it and losing a bit of the passion they've got for football at this time. And I listened to that phone call and I was just like, well, there's the future of our club there. And then listen to the passion of the youngsters coming through.
Do you know what? The funny thing was, George just didn't learn. You know, an ex-goalkeeper, and the goalkeepers union will always stick up for their goalkeepers. And George was like, no, I still think it was an error. And I'm like, bless you, George. You just need to let it go. Can I just quickly say before we wrap up, actually, one thing I was going to say is, I don't know if you've seen on the website, but there is a memorial game for one of the under-18s, Antonio Walker, whose mother's died recently. And he's at Whiteleaf at the moment, and Robbo was on the official site. And just thought I'd quickly mention it here. There's going to be a memorial game at Whiteleaf on Thursday, the 3rd of October, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. That's Whiteleaf's ground, basically. And there's hopefully going to be some sort of like academies at Alfie Egan, Sean McKillop, Williams Bowers, Nathan Wood, Dan Anno, Jason Stripp, to the number few. So I just thought we'd quickly mention it. Robbo will be down there and sending a team out. So I think it's a great gesture, and that academy all stick together, so which is really good.
That's on the 3rd of October, has I got that right? 3rd
of October at Whiteleaf's ground, which is a lovely ground. I remember going there in the good old days when we were in non-league, and it's a lovely ground. So if you're local or you just want to fancy go down and to see the academies play a memorial game, I think it's I'm really impressed. Robbo does everything right, and great gesture.
And a nice way to end the show. So that is indeed it. Thank you very much for joining me this week, Stu.
No problem, thank you.
Alexa Bliss. Bag first, milk last. Please watch The Circle. We will speak to you again next Friday.